It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Markwardt takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. Well, it's Friday. That means it's time for another episode of Fort Worth Musical Moments. I'm your host, Brent Adams. Excited to welcome back my co-host, singer, songwriter, Steve Markwardt. Steve, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Brent. How's it going?
It's good. It's been a busy week. We've covered a lot of ground here this week, but excited to be back with everybody here. How's the week been for you?
Well, it's been good. Had to relocate out of my primary residence because we're having a lot of painting stuff getting done. So I didn't want to get out of their way. But, you know, I can. The good news about technology today is you can conduct business from just about anywhere if you've got the right equipment, which I've got the right equipment. I'm just not sure how to use it sometimes.
Well, you're sounding good today, and it's good to have you back in the chair again. We had a lot of fun with Billy Bowles last week. This week we're going to bring in a guy here who really needs no introduction, although we'll probably give him one anyway here.
That's embarrassing. You had to show that, didn't you?
I sure did. Welcome in, Kurt Ryle. How you been?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We've been doing good, man. And we know you've been busy here. We've been following everything going on with you here in the past couple of weeks. Tell us a bit about what you got cooking in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Well, it's never ending, but it sure is fun. We had Kathy Jewell here last week from KSSL Radio, and Kathy is coming into. I wrote songs with her for a week solid. I think we wrote 8 or 9 songs in a week, wow. And it was amazing. They're all just really, really good songs, and so I kind of hated to see Kathy go, but she's coming back in June to record. And then this week I had Eric Diamond here from New Mexico. And Eric is a Western swing singer, and so he and I have been writing songs this week, and we're getting ready to start recording his album Monday. So it's a lot of stuff going on, but boy, we got some great material coming out with on some really good artists. So I'm excited.
And throughout the hour, we'll share some videos here that kind of demonstrate the diversity of talent that you're producing there out of Clarksville, Tennessee. But you really have kind of expanded more into this whole Western swing genre. Tell for the folks who are listening, tell us a bit about some of the differences there, and if you could kind of demonstrate a bit.
Yeah, it's funny. That's a good question, because I've had people say, well, Western swing is just country, or it's just jazz. It's really both. And the best way I know to describe the difference between, let me pull a guitar out here, just in case you haven't seen this. This guitar belongs to a dear friend of mine who it's a Gibson J50. It's like a 65. Look at the condition of that. Actually, Steve Markwardt brought it up here, and he's never gotten to go home with it, and he probably never will. But thank you, Steve. I really appreciate this guitar for my birthday last week. Right?
That guitar has a lot of good juju on it. I'm telling you.
It's going to have a lot more after today. You know, actually, when people talk about country music, if you try to just explain it, most people who are not musicians or they don't really understand it. So I'll try to make this really simple. I think all of us in school probably at some point had to learn the scales.
If you could show us, if you could point the camera down a little bit so we can see your hands playing. Yeah.
Well, the scale, like the scale we had to learn in school was like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, la. You remember the scale, right? We all learned that. That's called the pentatonic scale. And what it is it's all major notes. So what Western swing does, this is pretty much how country music is. It's pretty much pentatonic for the most part. But Western swing, you know, where you might, you know, like country music might be, I'm playing all the, Western swing is more of the flats and thirds, or the flats and sharps will be all the notes in the scale. And of course the rhythm would be, So you see, it's just a whole lot of chords, and using all the notes in the scale like jazz. Jazz pretty much is one of those things where you're going to hear every note that's in even if it's theoretically wrong, it's going to be in Western swing and jazz. Where in country, it's real simplified. So I hope that explains that a little bit. But
Kurt, hey, before you put that guitar up, give us a practical demonstration real quick. Like that song we recorded, Hank Williams cover song we recorded on my last album, Long Gone Lonesome Blues. You just play a little snippet of that, both in the country style and then the swing style.
Okay. So the way Hank would have done it would have been like, well, I went down to the river to watch the fish swim by. So these are basic, simple chords. Da 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 da. So that's the country version Hank did. Had Bob Wills recorded the song, it would have sounded like this. So it would have had a bucket full of chords in it like that. That's the difference in swing and country.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if I could only play like that, I would be in heaven. But
if you play like that, Steve, you'd be here working every single day. So be glad you're not. Yeah.
And I'll never forget, Kurt, when I first got to know you and we were planning my album out, and we talked about getting session players in there for the recording session. And I said, well, there's quite a few to choose from, I'm sure, in Nashville. And you said, yeah, if you're doing straightforward country, there's a lot of great players. But when you talk Western swing, the playing field narrows dramatically. And of course, that's why a lot of people don't know how to play. You know, those are some pretty complex things going on there. You know, and I think even to the eyes of the layman or the amateur like me, you know, you can tell there's a lot more going on there. But it's just such a sweeter sound.
I believe all of the musicians here in Nashville that are playing on hit records today. I still play on some of these things too, but all of them are capable of playing this. It's one of these things where you have to have grown up listening to this music, and if you didn't grow up listening to it, you're just not going to know. You're not going to understand how to play it. They're all capable of it, but finding somebody in Nashville today, you know, years ago we had guys like Leon Rhodes, who you could pick up the phone and call. That guy would walk in and blow your socks off. There's guys in Dallas, and I'll mention Tommy Nash. I don't know if I've ever met Tommy Nash, but I will tell you I have so much respect for him as a Western swing jazz guitarist. So, you know, it's just one of those things it's hard for me to pick up the phone and call someone to come in on a guitar and play Western swing. There's just not many guys around that understand that. And so, but it's not that it is complex and it's complicated because of all the chords, but these guys know the chords. They just don't know quite how to put them together for Western swing, you know.
I mentioned this before, maybe not on this show. I can't remember, but when we went into that session and we had players like Doug Jernigan, the steel guitar, you know, he's like one of the people at the steel guitar convention every year that people kneel to, you know, and kiss his ring, you know, that kind of thing. He's a legendary steel guitar player, and you know, and all those other guys like Jimmy Nichols and Wanda and all them, and they're used to doing these country sessions and being told what to play when their part comes up. And I remember Doug Jernigan's asking, you know, what do you want me to play here? And you and I both looked at him and said, hey, man, you play just whatever you know, play all you know.
Well, that's what Bob Wills would have said.
They had more fun in that session because they were, you know, it's all about improvising and just jumping out there and just you know, playing your heart out.
Yeah. That's the thing about Nashville. When you go into a recording studio, even now, you know, the first thing I ask you is, okay, what do you want me to do on this? What style are you looking for? Because we're so used to being told by a producer. Okay, do this, do this, do this. So when Doug Jernigan came in to play on a Western Swing album, he didn't really need to ask, what do we want you to do? We wanted him to play everything he knew. And it's the same with every musician. You just play. And it's kind of where country music is. It's all about the singer. And the music is just nothing more than a bed for the singer to get into. Western Swing is really all about everything. The musicians are just as important as the singer. And in Bob Wills' day, maybe even more so, because the lyrics were kind of cheesy back in those days. If you recall, Take Me Back to Tulsa, I'm Too Young to Marry. The lyrics were kind of, they weren't deep. So, and Steve, you and I talked about this when we were writing your album back up in the Smoky Mountains. We went up there and got a cabin and spent 4 or 5 days up there. And I told you then, I said, we need to bring this music, not try to keep it old school and live in the past. Let's try to bring it back and bring some new lyrics, a little more meaty lyrics, a little things that have a little more meaning to them. Now, Bob did some really good, meaningful lyrics. I don't want people to think that I don't notice that. It's just that some of the stuff he did was pretty simple, but I feel like now we can kind of evolve this music and make it even better. And so, yeah.
Kurt, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, whenever you and I and Eric were on the phone together, and that was exactly, when we got together in the Smoky Mountains and started talking about, it had been my mission for a good while to bring new material to this genre of music, because I had been to enough of these festivals and heard bands like Jason Roberts and, Bob Wills' Texas Playboys, they're like kind of the pinnacle group there. And then you got Jody Nix and Billy Mada and all these great guys that are playing mainly tribute cover songs of Bob Wills and some Milton Brown, which is great. And they're great at it. And I don't even want to try to compete with those guys. I don't think the world needs another tribute band. And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, because those guys can knock your socks off. But when I learned enough to know, a lot of it was by watching my brother's documentary film, how Western Swing came to be and how it was an amalgamation of all these different styles of music. And as it progressed from the early 30s, when it first started by Milton Brown and Bob Wills, and they were picking up as they went along all these different styles of music and different genre, like mariachi, and I thought, and that's why this. And my theory is, and I believe it's more than a theory, I think it's reality. That's what made this music so exciting in those days, is because you never knew what they were going to come out with next, and people were glued to that, and it drew them in. And of course, the main thing is it made them want to get out and dance and forget about the tough times they were going through back during the Depression. And then at some point, when that kind of faded, and Bob Wills and those guys kind of, all those bands started disbanding, and then rockabilly came in and Elvis and those guys took over. That became kind of the forefront music. Then all of a sudden, Western Swing shifted into more of a tribute style deal, and it quit evolving. So the fact that we can take this now and add, and tie it, anchor it to its roots. Don't get away from that, but evolve it into something new. Put in some new things like the Dixieland horns that we brought in on my album. I thought that was brilliant when you came up with that idea.
And I remember when we did that, Steve. When I told you I would like to bring the horns in, I think you have a background in singing big band like Sinatra and those guys, the Las Vegas thing. So I think
I'm a lounge singer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're more of a big band show type singer. And I think when I was mentioning those horns, I think you thought it was going to be more in the vein of Sinatra, where you had these big brassy horns coming at you from different directions. And I knew that wasn't at all what I wanted to do. And I think the first time you heard it, you were a little taken back, because it was Dixieland jazz, and it was not a big horn section. These guys are all playing at the same time, and you get a trumpet coming over here, and a clarinet over here, and a trombone over here, and a saxophone. And it was just jazz, free for all jazz, and that's exactly what I thought it should be. And I think we got onto something there that nobody else had ever touched on. And now everybody's going, wow, man, these horns are killer. Got Eric Diamond in here right now, and he goes, man, I want those horns on my record. So, I think we started something really cool. And also, you mentioned Jimmy Nichols a while ago playing piano. If you go back, what was the piano player's name with Bob? My brain isn't quite working today. You know who I'm talking about. He played with Bob Wills.
It was Al Strickland.
Al Strickland. If you watch Al Strickland play, all he's doing is ragtime. Do you remember ragtime music? It's kind of like Dixieland.
That stride piano, yeah.
Yeah, he did ragtime in Bob Wills' music. So here he's got bass notes coming from different directions. Eldon Chamlin on the guitar, he's doing nothing but chords with bass notes in it. It could have been a disaster, but they made it work. They found ways to not walk on each other. And I think Western Swing is the most interesting music. I just think there's nothing like it, and it can't compete with anything. It doesn't compare to anything. And I just want to keep it evolving and keep trying to make it better and better. And I want to reach out to, I want to bring this music back. Not that I don't love what we're doing in country right now on the radio, on FM radio. I do. I like a lot of it. I like the old traditional stuff with the Merle Haggard sound and the George Jones, Mel Tillis, those guys. But Western Swing needs to keep evolving. It shouldn't die with George Strait and Merle Haggard, who made an effort at bringing this music back and did a really good job and kept it alive. It's up to us now to keep this going, or it's going to die. And we're doing it.
Got to mention Sleep at the Wheel, who've been almost single-handedly responsible for keeping Western Swing out there when hardly anybody else was. But yeah, I think Merle Haggard, that album he did, the title of it was A Tribute to the Best Damn Fiddle Player in the World, Bob Wills, and Merle put that album out. And of course, if you talk to Paul Anastasio, who you and I got the honor of performing with last November, he got up and grabbed his fiddle and got up with our two fiddle players and brought James. We had 4 fiddle players up there at one time. That was great. But Paul Anastasio said that if you had asked Merle, in fact, Merle's idea of warming up before a concert is to play about 3 or 4 Bob Wills songs, and if you ask Merle what he'd rather do if he had his choice, he'd rather just play Western Swing, and so I think it's fun. And why? Because it's fun to play, it's fun to sing, it's really fun to listen to, and not only when you're listening to it, something happens, and that is your foot starts tapping, and pretty soon, unless you've just got no emotion in you, you're gonna get up and dance.
Absolutely. And you're also, people in the audience, if you watch the people in the audience when you're on stage playing Western Swing, they watch you play because there's so much technique involved in it. It's fascinating to them. Where, if you were up there to listen to George Strait just do his songs, there's not a whole lot going on. It's just it's all about the vocal again, and the music just kind of fills in around it. But Western Swing, man, everybody's a star on that stage. It's just really cool to watch it.
Gets to shine, and I love to call out the musicians' names too, because they deserve recognition. And so we try to do that on some of the recordings, and we certainly want to do it, when we're performing live. And it's just so fun to perform live. And and one other thing I'll speak to real quick, and then we can move on. But I remember when you and I did that, we did our album, and there was all original songs except for one cover, which was a Hank Williams, which we took and swung the heck out of, and I thought it turned out brilliantly, thanks to your arrangements and direction and all that, because you were the glue that kept it all together. But and then when we were heading into my concert, my debut concert, album release party in August at National Hall in Fort Worth, and I remember my brother Mike calling me saying, "Steve, now how many Bob Wills songs are y'all going to do? How many Milton Brown songs?" I said, "Mike, we're going to do exactly 0. And he's like, "What?" He goes, "You can't do that." He goes, "What? Nobody's going to dance to music they've never heard." And I said, "Mike, it's going to be okay, I promise." And sure enough, do you remember I told you that in about, I don't know, a third of the way into the concert, we're up there, grooving, and I look at you and you look at me, you go, Steve, look at the dance floor. And it was full. And then you got on, you said, folks, this is music you've never heard before, but I think because we stayed close to the root of Western swing, what it should be, but then we took it and evolved it. People, and maybe in some cases they thought, maybe I've heard this song. It seems familiar, but it was enough to get them out there dancing. And and we never got one request for a cover song. No. They were completely satisfied with what we were playing.
Yeah. And they looked perplexed when I got on the microphone and I said, ladies and gentlemen, you've been out here, the dance floor's packed. I said, I want you guys to understand something. You're dancing to music you've never heard before in your life. And the look on their faces became such perplexed. They were so perplexed. And I said, this is brand new Western swing, and it's for sale in the back. And you sold out of CDs that night, if I remember right. It was like I don't know how many.
In August, and at the festival in November too. And I got one of the ultimate nods of approval from Kerry Janelle, who wrote the definitive biography on Milton Brown. He's out of California, and he came in for the festival, and he was one of the first people to greet me when I came off the stage. He goes, man, what you guys are doing is just spot on. It's brilliant. He goes, I love it. And I said, well, Kerry, it meant a lot coming from him. And so we've gotten some good validation along the way. And I can't wait to hear the stuff that you and Eric are doing. It's good to have a fellow Western swing artist on board. I know Eric and I have talked, and we've been trying to get him to the studio for quite some time. And so I can't wait to not only hear what you guys are doing, but to get out there and perform this stuff live and share the stage with him. And I think we're working on some ideas and maybe some package shows and things like that, and start, because I really am really itching to get out and do some live performance stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to do a lot more of that coming up. And I want to take just a second and just say hi to all the folks that are listening in with us right now. Billy Bowles is on here. Stacy Sands, Peggy York, Jay Matthews. I can go on and on. This is a pretty big audience we're getting in here, and it's just growing by the minute. But I want to encourage you guys, if you have any questions or anything you want to say, feel free to type it on the screen. And when we get a second, we'll try to answer your questions for you too.
Brent back in.
I'm here. I don't even need to be here. I'll just let Kurt take over. He's doing a masterful job.
Brent, how was your nap, Brent?
It was. I'm just sitting here learning with everybody else. That's good stuff. Earlier Kurt was talking about just the volume of work that's coming through Clarksville Creative Sound right now, and wanted to stop down and share a video here. And Kurt, if you could set us up for this one. Mackenzie McKetty, If the Shoe Fits. That's one of the recent releases that's come out of Clarksville Creative Sound. Tell us a bit about that, because we talk about the steel guitar and some of what was there, but also you're bringing back fiddles, and that's something you don't hear a lot of.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to set this up by telling both of you guys something that neither one of you know. That song was written by myself and Laurie Lace. She is a radio personality, a disc jockey, and singer. And she and I wrote that song for her album. And she told me, she said, I think Mackenzie should do this song, and I should just do, because she's a little bit more on the outlaw side. And so Laurie was nice enough to let Mackenzie take the song and record it. And what a great song it is. And Mackenzie, of course, plays fiddle, and she's a very accomplished fiddle player. So I told her, I said, I want you to play on this record. And I wanted, and we brought her in, and she did. And of course, the song is just a cool little song. It's just got a lot of energy in it. And we're just bringing back a lot of the older country too, not just Western swing. We're doing a little bit of everything. So,
well, throughout the hour,
so the song's a little sassy too. It's got a little attitude. I like it.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, throughout the hour, we'll share a bit of the diversity coming through Clarksville Creative Sound here, but we'll share this one here first. This is Mackenzie McKetty.
Pickup truck with a painted up blonde-haired girl sitting by your side. When you open your
Awesome. Boy, that'll get you jazzed up.
You know what's funny is Mackenzie has her own band, and two of those members that were in that video are actually in her band. But the other two, her band wasn't here, so we needed to shoot this video. So my goodness, there were 4 Clarksville Creative Sound artists in that one video. Braden Ryle was sitting down and back in the back was Austin McKetty, and of course Jasmine McDonald was playing bass. And I was sitting there watching that video thinking that's a dream team band right there. Only if Steve and I were on there, we'd make it look better, but that's about it, Right, Steve?
I don't know about that. Did Jasmine do the vocal harmonies, or did Mackenzie overdub that?
No, Jasmine did all of the harmonies on Mackenzie's record. Jasmine is a very accomplished singer, harmony singer, so she does a lot of these artists' harmony for them. She also did yours, Steve, I think, on your record.
She did. It was an honor to have her on there, and I think I was one of the first artists to come in there and actually pay her to do that. And she was like a deer in headlights when I said, here, gave her the money for those parts. And I thought, that's how this is supposed to work, Jasmine. You're supposed to be able to make a living doing this. And this is a small step that way. But it was great to have somebody with her voice on there. And she's so talented. I mean, my gosh, the songwriting that she's doing now really came out of left field. I know for you and I, Kurt, when she brought those first songs in there and we started listening to them, and it was like, holy smoke, where did this come from?
Yeah, she's got a lot of talent, guys. She's able to go out there. She plays a lot of instruments too. And so she'll build her own little tracks, through somehow the internet. These kids know stuff we don't know, but she's a pretty talented kid. And Mackenzie, of course, she's a multi-talented instrumentalist herself, and her brother too. And that was her dad back there playing steel guitar. So we got some really talented people on this label. I'm really happy to have them.
And Mackenzie, you mentioned her brother Austin. He just released a song, and it got some really good feedback it's getting good feedback from some of the DJs that are playing it. So,
well, I had Austin
really
when we were doing Mackenzie's project. Austin was here, and he's a good-looking boy, young kid. He's only 15 or 16. So I asked him. I said, Austin, you want to go in the studio and try to sing something? He's like, up and go. He was in there before I could even turn on the microphone, and we put him on that song. And I got to tell you, the kid's got a great voice. He's kind of in the artist development stage right now, where we're still working on getting. He's got some bad habits. It's kind of like tennis players. Sometimes they don't hit the ball just right, and you have to coach them and get them to where they're doing it right. So he's going through a little bit of artist development right now, but he's going to be a really, really good artist. I've got a lot of hope.
I'm glad you and I don't have any bad habits.
Oh no, Steve, you're perfect. And by the way, you were not afraid to hand that money to Jasmine, but he's never handed it to me. Like I'd play a solo, Brent, and I'd be standing there with my hand out. And he didn't know why I had my hand. He thought it was raining or something. He throws money to them girls now, I'm telling you.
Well, of course I know where my bread's buttered. Well, I noticed when I mentioned bad habits, Brent all of a sudden ducked out of there for a second. So
that's right. Keep me out of that fray.
But the thing about Mackenzie and Austin to an extent, but Mackenzie, for you and I were talking about, it's rare that you find an artist that not only can sing well, that can play, and of course play the fiddle is no small feat, but that's totally fearless on stage. And she just exudes confidence up there and just lights up the whole stage. I mean, don't you agree?
I do. And I really think, and the other artist that we have that's like that is Braden. When he walks on stage, he just kind of commands the attention from the audience. I wanted them two to do a duet together too, because he and Jasmine have done a lot. He's done a lot with Jaden, but he's never done one with Mackenzie, and they both have so much energy up there on that stage. So I think that'd be fun. I'd like to do that too.
I'm just honored to be in the midst of these young artists like Braden and Jasmine and Mackenzie and Austin as he comes up. And then of course you got Jaden Riley out of Canada. That's just, I mean, she's on a rocket trajectory. And, it's just, I cannot wait to see where all this goes. And I'm just glad to have kind of a seat at the table,
Hey, can I say something? I don't want to harm this thing, Brent. I'm going to turn this over to you, but I have to say it because it's very important. Jaden's mother, Tara Giles, she's one of the sweetest people on the planet, and she makes fun of me a lot because I end up getting in Facebook jail sometimes, and usually it's for saying something I don't even know I'm not supposed to say. I think they have algorithms that go out there, and if you say a certain thing, it could be they take it out of context. They don't even know. It's just you end up in Facebook jail. She ended up in Facebook jail because there was a spider on a car, and she went, "Oh my goodness, burn it down." And when she said burn it down, it triggered one of their algorithms, and so they kicked her off. So I've gone out on the internet and I posted her picture in an orange jumpsuit in every single place I can find to put it. And she's like, "I'm going to get you for that." But it's so funny, you guys. I'm telling you, she's the sweetest girl on the planet, but I've got her out there as a criminal. I just want to throw that in because I think she's going to be watching this.
Don't get me started on all that. We won't get into that discussion, but yeah, that kind of censorship is kind of annoying. But anyway, yeah, it's amazing. And then we've got artists like Kathy Jewell, who you were with all last week, and you wrote a bunch of songs with, and I can see that you are helping her find maybe the voice that she didn't even know she had. I mean, she's got a beautiful voice, and she's a talented songwriter in her own right, but it's just like rain from heaven for her to get together with you, Kurt. And I knew that would happen when we, because I've been talking to her, and Mary Mentor's been talking to her, and we've all been talking about getting her up there. And so when that finally happened, I think magic happened, did it not?
It did. And I was kind of taken back by how good she was as a songwriter. I was a little surprised by that. I wasn't expecting that. When we sat down and start writing together, man, she was throwing lines out at me like this, and they were spot on. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not used to that with most people. Steve, you're one of those people that do that, but there are other people too, of course, Jasmine. But Kathy she had a lot to do with these songs that we wrote, and they're really good. And I'm telling you guys, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with when this album comes out. It's going to be great.
I'm definitely looking forward to hearing everything on that. I wanted to circle back around. You were talking about Jasmine McDonald and doing some of the harmony work. One of the videos we got queued up here is another one you just dropped here in the last couple of weeks, the video for anyway, Autumn Moon. Tell us a bit about this song.
Well, she wrote this song, and she and I have always written stuff together. And then all of a sudden one day she said, "I want to send you some stuff that I've written by myself, and I want you to tell me what you think." And I was expecting it to be stuff that just we would have to work on, but I was totally wrong. And Steve was surprised by this too. She sent me these songs, and they were spot on perfect. And this Autumn Moon, I didn't change a word in the song. She wrote it by herself. Great song. And it told me right there how much she's progressed as a songwriter. And of course, she just is such a pretty girl, and she looks great on film. And so there's something about her that just shades of Dolly Parton at times. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because they're both very elegant. But Jasmine is a great writer, and it shows in this song.
Well, this is one to make the hair on your arm stand up a little bit here. We're going to roll this one right now, Autumn Moon.
Stars in the sky, only one caught my eye, and baby, it was you. The way you spoke my name as we kissed in the rain, turned my spark into a flame. The autumn moon, as the temperature cooled, I fell in love with you. Your eyes were shining like stars as you held me in your arms. I see of it all, those sweet dreams of fall. Oh, your love could make the flowers bloom. I felt so serene when you said you loved me. I'd spend eternity beneath the autumn moon. As the temperature cooled, I fell in love with you. Your eyes were shining like stars as you held me in your arms. I see skies of blue and red roses too, but nothing compares to you beneath the autumn moon. I see skies of blue and red roses too, but nothing compares to you beneath the autumn moon. No, it don't compare to you underneath that autumn
Yeah, what more can you say about that?
Wow. That's really amazing, isn't it? Wow, what a
And
gift.
played that. I really wish you hadn't played that song, Brent, because now it's going to be rolling around in my head for another week. I can't get that song out of my head every time I hear it. It's one of those haunting songs. And the only thing I wonder is where in the heck is the guy that she's singing to? She never found him in the woods, you know.
Well, that just leaves the door open for a sequel, doesn't it?
No, Jasmine has got that quality, and I can't think of another word. And so, but it's sultry. It's one of those deals in a good, it's just, she's just like got that voice that, is just amazing. And of course those eyes can just look right through you. So she's definitely got it. And it's an amazing, and the fact that, and she wrote that song, and you would think, okay, that's based on, an experience of falling in love or whatever. But, Jasmine's, she's yet to kind of get out and experience the world. But, she's, if you don't mind me saying, hopefully Donna doesn't mind me saying this, but she was homeschooled. And so she's kind of stayed close to home her whole life. And to write music like that and some of the other songs she's written, it has a very worldly point of view about life. And so she must have a really great imagination, but it's spot on. I'm telling you.
You're right. And I just have to say this, Robert Houston's on here with us right now. I'm reading the feed over here. And Robert said, well, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the woods and a beautiful woman in a gown and heels showed up. So, Robert, good post, man. Oh,
Kurt,
boy.
I know you like to get out and walk in the woods in heels too. I know that.
Well, in your video, I did dress up as a woman, and that was we did it because we thought it'd be funny. But I've had to eat a lot of crow over that, guys. I'm telling you, it's man, that's so embarrassing. I'm trying to look as totally ridiculous as I could, and I think I pulled it off.
Of that old saying that, back in my crazy days when I was out honky tonking, like that Mickey Gilley song, the girls always get prettier at closing time. I always said, well, I went home with Michelle Pfeiffer and woke up with Barney Fife.
That's so true, isn't it? Oh man.
Hey, Kurt, we got some breaking news here.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I want you guys to look at this. This is Tara Giles. This is Jaden Riley's mother. Now, Jaden's one of the artists on Clarksville Creative Sound, and maybe one of the most gifted of all, but her mother is such a sweetheart. But I want you to look at her in this orange suit. I have no idea. What she did was she broke Facebook rules and ended up getting put in Facebook jail. And I've been posting this picture all over the internet because it embarrasses her, and she's going to get even with me, and I'm going to pay a price for it, but I couldn't resist. Good job, Brent.
Well, Jasmine bought me 4 minutes, so that was all I needed.
Robert Houston, I'm glad Robert Houston's tuned in, and we were really thrilled to have him on our show. We'll have to have him back for sure. Robert's doing a lot of cool Western swing stuff out. He's out of Arkansas, and they're all over that area in Oklahoma. They're doing the casinos up there, and one of these days we got to get there and join in with those guys.
Yeah. And also we have a lot of people here from my songwriters workshop. Marlene Marie Connors is here, and Peggy York and others. So welcome, guys. We're glad you're here. That's what we want to do. We want to build this thing up, and we want people to come in and feel free to ask questions and stuff. So back to you, Brent.
Absolutely.
I grew up with Jay Matthews. I think he's watching, or he was. We went to school together, and we're his wife Debbie and my wife are like very close friends, and so we do a lot of stuff together. Jay and I banged around on guitars together for quite a while, and talked endlessly and shared endlessly music that inspires us. And he's got a little bit different taste than I do in some areas, but I think anyway, we've had a lot of fun. He's another musical expeditionary.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, you were talking earlier about Merle Haggard and his love of Bob Wills, and later years he also did the bluegrass album as well. But everybody that really still loves the true traditional country music, just kind of comes back to Merle Haggard the same way people come back to Bob Wills for Western swing. And one of the guys that you have been working with at Clarksville Creative Sound is Lonnie Bartmus. And I know I hear it, and I know a lot of people that I've seen comment hear it, but there's a certain Merle quality in Lonnie Bartmus.
Lonnie Bartmus to me is the maybe the best traditional country singer I've ever heard. I mean, I think he rates right up there with Merle Haggard. And you never know what he's going to do in the studio, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on his vocals. I mean, he just spits them out. They're so brilliant. But I wrote a song for him called Love Would Have Wanted It That Way. I really didn't write it for him. I wrote this song 20 years ago. And Joe Stampley's son, Tony Stampley, a lot of people here are going to know who I'm talking about. Mo and Joe back in the day did a lot of duets together. But Tony did a great job on it, and it just sat on a shelf for about 20 years. So it was never released. And one day Lonnie was in the studio, and I played it for him, and he said, "Man, I want to record that." And I still, to this day, I go out there and watch that video, Lonnie Bartmus and Love Would Have Wanted It That Way, and it just moves your heart, man. I mean, the guy he sells everything he does. He's so good at it.
We don't have that one queued up, but the one we do have queued up, Somebody Nobody Knows. That's another one that just kind of screams Hag.
And he wrote this too, by the way, by himself.
Number, isn't it?
Well, let's share this one here so people can get a feel of the gritty traditional sound that's also coming out of Clarksville Creative Sound these days. This is Lonnie Bartmus.
I thought I'd reached the end of the rainbow, but I didn't find that pot of gold. I must have gone in the wrong direction, 'cause I came back with nothing to show. I came back empty-handed, but for me, that's the way it always goes. Took off with him and left me stranded. I'm just somebody nobody knows. I walked off my bull in Del Rio. That cowgirl made me lose my train of thought. Then I split the horns in the short go. It made me feel like selling all I've got. I came back empty-handed, but for me, that's the way it always goes. She took off with him and left me stranded. I'm just somebody nobody knows. Now I'm in Fort Worth drinking Lone Star, 'cause it's my favorite beer. She took off with that old boy from Dallas. They took her dually and left me stranded here. I'm sitting here empty-handed, but for me, that's the way it always goes. She took off with him and left me stranded. I'm just somebody nobody knows. I'm just somebody nobody knows.
That's a great example of a great traditional voice meeting up with some Western swing.
Yeah, it reminds you of Merle Haggard, you know. I mean, because he's got a little bit of Merle Haggard in his voice. Lonnie's an interesting guy. I mean, this guy he's a war veteran, a Vietnam War veteran. This guy's been through hell. He's got Agent Orange, and it's like he just still walks in front of a microphone and just blows you away. Walks on stage and does the same thing. Just a great singer. And by the way, real quickly, I just want to say something about those musicians in that band. The people looking at the fiddle player, that's Wanda Bick. Wanda Bick, for those that don't know this, is a 5-time world champion fiddle player, dobro player, banjo player, mandolin player. And she plays all these instruments equally well. She's one of the greatest musicians I've ever worked with. She was on the Gaither. She worked in the Porter Wagoner all-girl band. And the steel guitar player played with he plays on the Grand Ole Opry. He's a regular on there now, and he also has worked with Vince Gill on there. Still working with him. Lady Gaga. He even played steel guitar with Lady Gaga. These musicians are the best in the world, and I just like to put a little spotlight on them occasionally. You know.
That's all, huh? Just a bunch of weekend warriors.
Yeah.
Steel guitar player is Tommy White, right?
That's correct. Tommy White is he's the house steel guitar player on the Grand Ole Opry. And I've got Tommy coming in next week on this session for Eric Diamond. And
also a recent inductee to the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame.
That's correct. Very good. That's right. That's right. Yeah, he's.
I want to say something about that song that Lonnie that we just saw, just from the content of it. A moral of the story that I kind of got from that. First of all, I love the nod, kind of like does Fort Worth cross your mind? He's saying, I'm sitting here in Fort Worth drinking Lone Star while she's in Dallas, you know. And so that reminded me a little bit of that George Strait song, Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind? But then he said she took off in her dually. Well, there's your clue. If you're going to date a girl that drives a dually, you're asking for trouble.
You beat me to the punch. I was thinking the same thing when I heard that. That's good.
Fort Worth.
Hey, I wanted to circle back around. Robert Houston put a good question out here that I wanted to circle back to. He asked, Kurt, what's your approach in developing new talent? What qualities do you look for, and how do you decide how to steer them?
You know, I try to look for for the talent, not so much the age or the look. Because Western swing, I believe that we're going to bring this music back, and I don't think it matters how old you are or how pretty you are. When you're getting into the mainstream country music, of course, I'm looking for youth that has talent, but it really comes down in the end to talent. I don't want to do, for years Nashville, and I'm not bashing Nashville anyway, because I still work with those guys. I still play on a lot of stuff with all of them, but it seems to me like they've gone after artists that are really pretty, that have a look about them, and then they kind of get them in the studio and they mold them and auto tune them to death. A lot of them. I'm looking for people who can sing, and when they walk on stage, I want their music to sound like it does in the studio. And a lot of these artists today, you go watch them in concert, it doesn't sound like the record. And I will say this about Steve Markwardt: when he walks on stage, it sounds like you're in the studio. And that's what I want. I want people who have that real natural gift to be able to sing in tune and to be able to sell that song. And so I hope that answers that. Yeah.
Ever had somebody come in that really believes that they've got it, and they walk in and you work with them? It probably doesn't take long if you've been in that situation, and you just have to tell them, I'm sorry, but it just ain't going to work.
I used to do that. And I quit doing it. I won't do it anymore. I have to know that they can sing, or I won't even bring them in the studio, even if they're not an artist, they're just wanting to record. I'm going to give you a really quick little example of what I'm talking about. I had a lady come in here one time with her daughter many years ago, and she played me a CD, and she said, we recorded this in Nashville. And she said, I think that they just could have done a better job with her vocals. So I thought, well, I hear that a lot, because if you don't have a producer, you're not going to do a very good job in the studio. And there's a lot of those places you book the studio, you go in and sing, but there's nobody there to produce you. So I listened to the CD, but the problem I discovered was it wasn't that nobody did their job. It was that the girl couldn't sing at all. She was literally in the wrong key. She never sang a note in the scale of the key the song was recorded in. The musicians were great. So I told the lady, I said, and I told the girl, they were sitting here, and this was hard to do because there was no way this girl could ever record. She could not ever sing in tune. And I told her, I said, honey, I really believe that God gives us all gifts. And I said, I believe he has a special gift for you, and you have to find it. But I said, I usually don't like to speak for God, but I said, in this instance, I'm going to do it. God does not want you doing music. And I just didn't know how else to handle it. And I told her, I said, I really just don't think that you should be wasting your money and your time doing this, because I don't hear anything here that makes me think that you have that gift. And the mom thought that I was trying to get out of it over money, maybe. And she offered me $500,000 to record her. And my wife was standing right here. And I said, if you gave me $10 million, I cannot make her sound good. I don't care what I do. And my wife looked at me, and my wife is Asian. She said, are you crazy? So Steve knows what I'm talking about. It was funny, but at the same time, I had to be really honest. I'm just not going to take advantage of people like that. But yeah, it's rare that happens. But
on that note, you don't happen to still have her number, do you?
No. And I don't have that CD either.
Well, you talk about the
voice.
You talk about the perfect combination of age and beauty. Another song that was released this week came out from Kurt Ryle himself, Pretend. Tell us about this song.
Honestly, I had no intentions of putting this out, Brent, and that's the truth. What happened was our videographer, who's the greatest videographer in the country, he's on staff with Clarksville Creative Sound, does all of our videos. He had come to the studio to do a video on someone, and he was late getting here because he had lost his phone, and so the guy had to leave. And so when the videographer got here, I thought, well, I don't want him to make that trip up here and not do anything. So I decided I would go ahead and do a video on myself. I've never done a video on myself. Wow. So this was the first time, and I thought, well, I'm going to do it because he's here. So that's why I did it. I wrote the song with Ashley Wetzel, who is an airline stewardess, a friend of mine for many, many years. And she and I wrote the song together. I recorded it, and it was just sitting here. I didn't really know what to do with it. And so he shot the video. We put it out, and people seem to like it.
Well, we're going to let Kurt Ryle reach into your heart and rip it out here with this one. This is Pretend.
Today you serve the papers to end our wedding vows. I tried to hide the teardrops in my eyes. I'll give you your freedom for one thing in return. Pretend you're in love with me tonight. Make me feel the way you did when we were married, when you made love to me and didn't close your eyes. And tomorrow morning I will sign the papers. Just pretend you're in love with me tonight. Tonight make me believe that it's not over yet. Even if you have to tell me lies. Honey, say you don't care if tomorrow never comes. Pretend you're in love with me tonight. Make me feel the way you did when we were married, when you made love to me and didn't close your eyes. And tomorrow morning I will sign the papers. Just pretend you're in love with me tonight. Pretend you're in love with me tonight.
Woo.
It's kind of a George Jones tear jerker, but
Right.
you
Well,
know, I've never really considered myself an artist, Brent, and I don't really consider myself an artist now. But you know, it's I just love that style of music, and occasionally I just want to throw it out there just because nobody else is doing a lot of that, you know. So that's why I did that video.
You've been around guys, the great ones like George Jones, and Mel Tillis and those guys, Vern Gosdin, the voice, because you picked up a lot of that inflection and you passed it on to guys like me who were I always just thought I was singing until you got a hold of me and you found a whole another dimension in how I can portray these songs, and you do it so well in that song, boy. You could feel it, and that's just a pitiful song. I mean, it's like, pretend you still love me. I don't know if we've all been there, but some of us have, and that's just the worst thing, and it's like, what I wanted to say, I almost thought I heard that lyric was, if I survive tonight, I'll sign the papers tomorrow. It's like, good Lord, oh.
Well, George Jones made a lot of money doing that kind of stuff, and I think people still like it. I think there's people out there that want to hear that stuff, and so if we don't throw it out there occasionally, it'll die, just like Western swing.
Everybody loves, and like I said, you and I need to write that song. Why does it make us happy to hear a sad song?
Yeah.
I think it's a cathartic thing. I don't know, but that's and country music almost has the market cornered on that, I think.
Well, in that vein, and speaking of guys like you, you've got a new single that's releasing here. Tell us about "I Can't Go Home to Heaven."
This is a song that I've been getting. So that album's been out since August. We released it in August of last year, and it's had quite a bit of exposure. And of course, the front runner in that album, the clear, if you could call it a hit song, it would be "Oklahoma's Calling Me." And guys like Robert Houston have actually picked that up and are playing it in their shows, which I'm extremely flattered and pleased about. But some of the other songs that people have over and over mentioned that they really liked was there's a couple of songs, "Swinging for the Bleachers," and then this song is kind of late kind of had a resurgence, and I think Brent, you played it on your Tractors and Troubadours show, or you've had it in rotation on your Real Strong Media playlist, and seems to be getting a lot of good feedback. And this is a song that I did not have a hand in writing. This was one of Kurt's songs that when we were looking for a few other songs to round out this album, Kurt had me listen to a lot of different songs, and that one really stuck out. And when I was recording it and doing the vocals, for some reason, I remember in my mind kind of thinking maybe I can just channel Hank Williams Jr. on this one as far as the vocal style. And so it's a great song, and this is one you wrote, Kurt, right? Or is there a co-writer on this one?
I wrote this thing a long time ago, and honestly, I don't know if I had a co-writer on it or not. I've probably written 3,000 or 4,000 songs in my career, so I can't. A lot of times I hear songs and I go, "Who wrote that?" And Braden, my son, will go, "Well, you did." And so I can't keep up with all of them. But this is a song I know it's about 25 years old, and it's just been in a folder, and I pulled it out, and Steve listened to it and wanted to record it. So
excellent. Well, let's share this one so everybody can hear it. This is the latest from Steve Markwardt.
I'm running out of honky tonks to go to. Lord knows I've been to every one in town, just looking for my genie in a bottle. She's not here and she's not there. Lord, she's nowhere to be found. Bartender, add one more drink to my tab, then multiply by 10 the worst pain you've ever felt. That equals up to me without my angel. Lord, I can't go home to heaven, 'cause it's all gone to hell. This old house is falling down all around me, just like our love. Her roses have all died. But to tell the truth, I brought this all on myself. Like she said, I made my bed the morning I came in and lied. Bartender, add one more
multiply by 10 the worst pain you've ever felt. That equals up to me without my angel. Lord, I can't go home to heaven, 'cause it's all gone to hell. No, I can't go home to heaven, 'cause it's all gone to hell.
Ah, man. Well, if those last two didn't get you, I don't know what will.
I like Peggy York said songs like this just make you want to dance.
Right.
That's what Western swing music does. It just makes
Ab-
you want to dance.
Absolutely. Well, it made you forget that the guy's going through hell.
Yeah, exactly. That's
At
right.
least a spoonful of sugar that helped.
It was on purpose or accidental, but the very beginning when that fiddle comes out there, you can swear you're about to hear "Faded Love."
Right.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and then all of a sudden it takes a turn. But it's I think that's why the people like your music so much, because there are little hints of other songs in those things that make them think that they're hearing one thing. I think Steve, your next album is going to even beat this one. Steve and I have already written all the songs, Brent, for his next album, so we're looking forward to that.
I can't wait to see the studio work and hear that music. Steve, before I forget, there is a music event going on in Fort Worth that we want to make sure that we note here before we get out of here today.
We don't have a part in that, unfortunately, but we'll change that for next year. But this is something brand new for Fort Worth, and it's called the Fort Worth Music Festival. And I'm just reading off an ad here, but I thought I'd just while we're talking about music, and since this is Fort Worth Musical Moments, we should give this a nod. So it's the Fort Worth Music Festival and Conference at the Stockyard. So I presume that's I'm sure they've got I think they've got that Tana Hills, which is a brand new live music venue. They'll probably be doing a lot of stuff there, probably over at Billy Bob's. Who knows? It's going to be kind of like South by Southwest in a smaller scale, spread out over the Stockyards area, which if you haven't been down to the Fort Worth Stockyards lately, that's like, I say it's like Bourbon Street on steroids. I mean, it's crazy. The crowds down there, and the even in the middle of the day, the people that are down there walking around, and the shopping, and the great restaurants, the great live music that's going on there. And we are talking with places like Little Red's Longhorn Saloon to do some gigs there, and hopefully next year we'll be a part of this festival. They've got people like Michael Martin Murphy, our good friend. We've become real good friends with him, and he's a big contributor to the Birthplace of Western Swing, or the Birth and History of Western Swing documentary film. So Michael Martin Murphy's there. You got Roger Krieger, you got Gary P. Nunn, Larry Joe Taylor, Tommy Alverson, a lot of Daryl Dodd. And that goes on from March the 1st through March the 4th. Looks like there's, gosh, who knows how many. There's at least 20 or 30 different artists that'll be playing. I presume on different stages. If you want more information, though, it says to get tickets at fortworth.com/FWMF. So you can get more information there of the Fort Worth Music Festival and Conference. So we definitely want to figure out how we can be a bigger part of that in the coming years, because I think that's something that's going to grow in popularity.
Absolutely. Well, we need to be doing this show from there next year, and have you guys on the stage here and have a presence for sure. You mentioned the birth and history of Western Swing. Before we get out of here, a lighthearted moment. We want to share your brother, Mike, who was the executive producer of that, found himself in Memphis last week and also up to Nashville doing the Ameripolitan Awards. They had 3 great screenings, and it looked like he had a big week.
Mike's. I always told Mike he should have been a politician because he never met a stranger, and he's got the most optimistic outlook. And he's just fearless, and he's always pushing me on stage, and of course he likes to get up there too. But yes, Mike had a very successful trip to Memphis, and maybe we can bring him on, or do a special segment with him, and he can tell us exactly firsthand how it went. I will tell you this: I think he had 3 different screenings of the film during the Ameripolitan Awards, and he did one over at Graceland, which is kind of cool, in the Graceland Theater. I can't remember what they call that over there, and he thought that was really cool. He got to tour Sun Records, and Kurt, I don't know if you got that email, but he said that the guys at Sun Records said we could come in there and record. And
I did.
I did.
And you know what Mike told him? He said, well, our producer at Clarksville Creative Sound, he said, would he be able to engineer this thing in the control room and sit there with Sam Phillips? And I told him, I said, I'll pay them if I can come in and do that. I don't care what it costs. That's such an iconic studio, man. Oh my gosh. Elvis was there. And
Mike's got that falsetto voice, and he said, maybe we could do some Frankie Valli. I'm like, okay. But he had a very successful showing of the film, and he met a lot of people like Dale Watson, who I think is kind of one of the heads of that whole Ameripolitan thing. Dale's a great artist himself. I can't remember all the other people he met. Mike would have to tell you, but he got a lot of very, very strong feedback on the film. I think anybody that sees that film for the first time comes away with, wow, I didn't know all of that.
It's the greatest documentary I've ever seen, ever. Right. It really is.
Well, I want to share a couple of things. For folks who are unfamiliar, the Ameripolitan Awards is kind of awards, as you mentioned, Dale Watson and others involved. It really kind of celebrates roots music, Americana, some of the stuff that you can't put in a box, some of the outlaw stuff, Western swing, and some of the true traditional country music here. I want to share a couple of things here from that week with Mike here. Check this out.
What a way to worship God forever. Jamboree of good old Western swing.
And that was Mike holding court at Johnny Cash's Bar and Barbecue off Lower Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee. And the one thing I can say about that, it's nice to finally see Mike coming out of his shell.
He's never been in a shell, Brent. That guy is always on 10. I love Mike. He's so fun to be around.
He was holding his own, from hotel room karaoke to the stage of Johnny Cash's. He was holding his own up there.
Yeah. He's amazing. I love Mike. I love to watch him on stage. He's great.
That's good stuff.
Fearless, very animated. That Big Balls in Cowtown is his specialty. We need to broaden his repertoire a little bit, but that's that song in and of itself, written by the great Hoyle Nix, who is the father of Jody Nix. So there's, we're all friends with him. And so that's a great song. And you know, like I said, Mike's doing more. He's kind of, you know, we may be putting music out there as artists and producers and writers and all that, but the guy that's out there in the front lines as the ambassador of Western Swing, it has to be my brother Mike.
Right. Well, I tell you what, between he and obviously Robert Houston, who was on here, throwing stuff out there, those guys, it's just encouraging to see people kill. And like Kurt said, paying homage to this stuff and doing the little things to keep it moving so it doesn't die out, and just having fun along the way. I mean, listen to that stuff. It's just fun, you know.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, before we get out of here, any last thoughts from anybody today?
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me on here, Steve and Brent, and I think we're going to probably be doing a little episode of a thing that I've done in the past that a lot of people like, called Road Stories. I think we might have that coming in the future, as we'll throw that out there and let people know that are on here watching that have asked me about it. We're probably going to do that on this format right here in the future.
Absolutely.
Exciting things going on with Clarksville Creative Sound and around Clarksville Creative Sound in our universe that we move around in, which is expanding on a daily basis. Our partnership and friendship with Mary Mentor and the CMA of Texas, and the fact that she is now going to be merging with this other organization in Fort Worth, and that's going to go through kind of a rebranding as well, and the reach and the influence is going to be much, much larger. What we're doing there, the possibilities we have there are just incredible. We set out to a year ago. We set out to build a media network that would further carry this music that these great independent artists like the Clarksville Creative Sound artists are doing. Carry it to as many people as possible. That's been our goal, is to find a platform, build a platform that gets this music out to as many people as possible. And I think we're definitely on the right track. We've had some great discussions, and we are now moving forward with some media groups, fairly sizable media groups, where we will be providing our music and content like what Kurt's talking about, the Road Stories thing, and some other things that Brent, you'll be kind of at the helm of that. So Rural Strong Media is going to be a big part of that. And I'm not sure exactly where all this is going to end up, but it's the journey that we're on, and it's exciting. And it's just, all really great stuff that we're all very excited about. And again, our goal is just to get this music out to as many people as possible and prove to the world that this music is alive and well and thriving and evolving. And, and there's a lot of people out there I know that love this music, and we want to bring it to everybody out there that is ready to receive it.
Well, the one thing I'll say about that is the beauty of what we're doing here is because we're not beholden to other interests. We have the autonomy and not having to work through committee to, if we decide we want to do something, we just go do it. And I think we've really kind of put the pedal to the metal on a lot of that stuff here the last few months, and have got a lot of great things on the whiteboard. And be looking out the rest of this year for a lot of really good stuff from all the parties that you just mentioned.
Exactly. We've got all the great elements in place. We've got a great studio. We got the best producer in the world. We got great musicians. We've got great material in terms of we're a songwriting factory. We've got a lot of songs that are available, but we can also write music. And like I was saying, Kurt, I was telling Brent the other day, I hope and pray that your creative well never runs dry, because man, you're an amazing how you can just continue to write these great songs. So as we continue to shape the label that is Clarksville Creative Sound and bring in new artists, and our whole goal is to raise that bar to where it's as high as it can possibly be, and we're putting out the best quality stuff and the music that we know everybody will love, not only to listen to but to dance to.
I just want to personally thank you, Brent, for coming in with us and doing this thing, because you bring so much to the table, and you got so many listeners out there that listen to you and your platform. And We're bringing in other people like such as Laurie Lace with Outlaw and Lace, another radio. We also have KSSL. We have Billy Bowles. We have so many great radio stations that are coming aboard and playing our music. It's just a matter of time, guys. This is going to really, really take off, and I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And we're just going to keep the ball rolling into that. And I hope everybody will get plugged into this Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group. Also,
Sorry, I missed Alan Reynolds. I'm sorry. Had to throw it in there.
Absolutely. So make sure, you check him out. Also, make sure you're following the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group and the Rural Strong Media Facebook page. And I hope you'll check in to that page as we continue to get you plugged into all the issues that matter to rural America. And we highlight this great traditional country and Western swing music. And we want to thank everybody who's joined us today and hope you come back again next week for another episode of Fort Worth Musical Moments. Steve and I will have another great guest here, and looking forward to another one, Steve.
One other thing I just want to say is stay tuned, because we're going to start really cranking out the live music gigs, and because I for one can't wait to get out there and start doing more live shows. I know we've got other artists that are itching to do that as well, so we're going to be working hard to set that up, and we'll be doing a lot of cool things, not only in Fort Worth, but hopefully all over the country.
We're definitely looking forward to that. And again, get plugged into this Fort Worth Musical Moments page so you can stay on top of all that. Also, Clarksville Creative Sound. And we want to say a special thank you again to Larry O'Neill with Fort Worth Memories here, who gave us this platform to be able to share this with the folks of Fort Worth and beyond. And it's growing way beyond Fort Worth, but it's awesome to be able to bring a piece of Fort Worth to the world here. And we're going to keep doing that every week here. And I want to invite you all to check out Rural Strong Radio, which is the 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com. Also the Live 365 streaming radio app. We are an official CMA of Texas partner and bringing a lot of that great, not only Clarksville Creative Sound, but a lot of the great Texas artists to the world here as we showcase that music. We play a lot of traditional country, Western swing, bluegrass, a little Southern rock, and inspirational. Everything from Bob Wills to Steve Markwardt you're going to find on there, and we'd love for you to check it out. Again, that's ruralstrongmedia.com. or the Live 365 streaming radio app. And a couple of programs we like to highlight on Sundays, 9 a.m. Central. We bring in Robbie Lynn, straight out of Vidor, Texas, to the world. He's got 3 hours of great inspirational country music. You'll hear some Hag on there, some George Jones, and some great independent artists. Great way to fill your soul and get your week started. And then at noon Central, we transition. We talked about him earlier, to Billy Bowles Swinging Country. 2 hours of great traditional country and Western swing music. And I saw Billy make a comment on there earlier that this week he's got Pretend from Kurt Ryle on there among the songs on the great playlist. So make sure you check it out. You can hear it first, 10 a.m. Central on KSSL FM, which is KSSLFM.com out of the Lubbock area. And hear the replay on Rural Strong Radio. Also Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on Rural Strong Radio if you missed the original one on Sunday. So a lot of great opportunities to catch Billy Bowles Swinging Country, one of the great ones hanging out the flag for traditional country and Western swing music. So make sure you go support Billy and everything he's doing. Again, thank you to everybody who tuned in today. We hope you'll come in again next week, Friday. This is a standing appointment here, 10 a.m. Central. We'd love to have you. And make sure you tell everybody else so we can keep growing this thing. And Kurt and Steve, thanks again for a great day. And we look forward to connecting with you again next week.
Thank you.
Well, until then, everybody keep riding tall in the saddle and make it a great week. And we hope you come back and join us again for Fort Worth Musical Moments. You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.